Since Donald Trump began his run in politics, his past with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell has always followed him. Trump's rabid followers will tell you that Trump and Epstein were never friends. They ran across each other at a few parties, and that was it. The more passionate ones believe that Trump was actually working undercover for the FBI in order to help take down Epstein. One thing that all of Trump's followers agree on is that victim Katie Johnson and her witness Tiffany Doe are lying. Here are some of the defenses that MAGA world has created for Donald Trump. 1. Many note that Katie Johnson's first lawsuit filed in California was thrown out on technical grounds. She had filed a civil rights suit, but failed to actually state an applicable civil rights claim. This is true, but Katie filed a second lawsuit in New York with two highly qualified lawyers guiding her. The case was never thrown out of court. Katie removed herself from the lawsuit because of the incredible number of death threats being issued to her by Trump's supporters. 2. Many of Trump defenders talk about Katie's relationship with a shady Jerry Springer producer named Norm Lubo. Lubo saw an opportunity to cash in on Katie's pain and made plans to move forward with a lawsuit of his own. A respected lawyer named Thomas Maher moved in and offered to represent Katie. He had read her account and believed her words. Maher made it clear that Katie's former association with Norm Lubow should not taint her allegations in any way. He firmly believed in her. Renowned lawyer Lisa Bloom also joined the team. Lisa was representing several other Epstein victims at the time. Some Trump supporters actually believe that Katie Johnson is a fictitious character created by Norm Lubow. 3. Victim's lawyer Brad Edwards exonerated Trump. In an interview during the Trump presidency, victim's lawyer Bradley Edwards was interviewed by a right-wing podcaster. The video of this interview went somewhat viral in MAGA world. Edwards recounted how Donald Trump was the only person to comply with a subpoena and was very helpful.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, "Let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know," and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
MAGA somehow translates this conversation into Trump being innocent of any abuses with Epstein's victims.
And gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved.
Think about that statement for a moment.
And gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved.
Mr. Trump gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved. So according to his supporters, Donald Trump is innocent because he didn't confess to Bradley Edwards during their phone call that he had sex with minors. 4. Trump defenders say that the statements by Katie Johnson have all been debunked. There is no truth to this. Katie's words were stated under oath and she has never retracted them. The only reason that Katie withdrew from her lawsuit was because of the barrage of death threats she was being subjected to. Just before her scheduled press conference, a hacker had hacked into Lisa Bloom's server and issued a warning that the press conference would not be taking place. Up until that point, there were a massive number of death threats and even a bomb threat. The hacker claimed to be the famous hacker Anonymous, but shortly after the real Anonymous posted from Twitter that it wasn't them. 5. Trump supporters will tell you that Katie Johnson admitted she was lying about being raped by Donald Trump. This belief comes from a headline posted by the British right-wing tabloid The Daily Mail. Exclusive. Troubled woman with a history of drug use who claims she was assaulted by Donald Trump at a Jeffrey Epstein sex party at age 13. Made it all up. There is a very interesting history behind this headline. Only 3 days earlier, Katie had given an interview with The Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is the most right-wing tabloid in the United Kingdom, and it's obvious from the headline that the intent of the article was to discredit Katie's allegations before the 2016 election. The problem was that the interview turned out to be a bombshell. Katie's graphic description of what Trump and Epstein did to her is sickening and heart-wrenching. The Daily Mail also interviewed Katie's witness, former Epstein recruiter Tiffany Doe. Tiffany confirmed to the Daily Mail that everything Katie stated in her interview was true. After the interview was posted, someone from Team Trump was clearly not pleased. Only 3 days after Katie's bombshell interview was published, the Daily Mail posted their completely false headline. If you read the article, you'll find out that Katie never retracts her statements. The Daily Mail knew that the headline itself would do enough damage and soften the impact of her previous interview. The actual content of the article was irrelevant. 6. Many Trump supporters say that the reason they know Trump never abused Katie is because as soon as he found out what Epstein was up to, he parted ways with him. This is a nonsensical defense with no basis in reality. It totally goes against Trump's own words about hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years and that Jeff was a terrific guy that liked his women on the younger side. 7. Another popular defense of Donald Trump is that he banned Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago when he found out that Epstein was hitting on a member's daughter.
Trump knows how to grab attention and other things, but now one best-selling crime writer is also turning heads with a new book that reveals the Mar-a-Lago owner actually kicked out South Florida financier Jeffrey Epstein. The incident allegedly took place at Mar-a-Lago back in 1999. One chapter in the book, Filthy Rich, details how Epstein was a regular at the club, but that all ended when a member's young daughter complained to her wealthy father. While relaxing at Mar-a-Lago, she had been approached and invited out to Epstein's house. The girl said that she had gone and that Epstein had tried to get her to undress. The girl's father had gone directly to Trump, who, in no uncertain terms, told Epstein that he was barred from Mar-a-Lago.
There are several variations to this story. There is evidence that Trump did kick Epstein out. It has been more widely reported that their split was over a dispute with a Florida real estate deal. Both Epstein and Trump were bidding on a mansion, and it became very ugly.
Apparently, they had a falling out over a mansion. I was reading a story about it.
Like when he sold him, or
no, they w9were both trying to buy some super exclusive property that was like the crown jewel of Palm Beach. It was this 6-acre mansion that overlooks the ocean. It's on the beach. It's beautiful.
That's
and it's
a hell of a plantation for girls.
Well, Well, it's also one of those things where, like, if you're in a part of these communities, there's certain properties that are iconic, and to own them would elevate your social status. Like, did you hear Trump bought the mansion de Chambon? So, like,
okay,
it had like
some
a name.
elite shit. Yeah.
It had like a name to it. The place is off the charts. If you see it on TV, like, you get a sense.
That's not it.
What is this?
I thought that was
It's a cane.
It's a
Apparently,
cane.
he's known to having a famous walking stick.
I thought you were showing Epstein and Trump.
He did have the cane. What was the house?
Yeah,
Google
Palm Beach house.
the house that they competed about. Trump and him competed over a house. Like,
It's got
many
8
years ago.
waterfalls.
Well, it's really old, I think.
14-year-olds in every room.
It's like if someone was like a super billionaire character and
Right.
I don't know, name some famous man, like the Hearst Castle.
Okay.
The Hearst Castle for sale. They'd all be trying to get it. Trump and Epstein's friendship reportedly soured after they fought over a $41 million Palm Beach mansion. 2 weeks after the home's auction, cops received a tip about underage women at Epstein's house. Oh, shit.
Man. That was
Could you
Candyland.
imagine?
Yeah.
Let's see if they have pictures of the place. Is that
That's like a
pictures of the
Taj
place?
Mahal. Look at that thing.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing's gorgeous.
Dude, it's dope as fuck. The images are insane. That's it right there. Click on that. Look at that place. So
wow.
You get it. They're fighting over who's got the biggest dick on Palm Beach. If you own that motherfucker, you bought that place, like, you're king baller. Everybody wants to have the party at your house.
Whether you believe the split was due to Epstein hitting on a girl or it happened because of a real estate deal gone bad, one thing that is known is that the split between the two happened in 2007. They had been friends since 1987, so the split happened 20 years into their relationship. So this talking point of Trump kicking Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago is not really evidence of anything. No one really cares why the two pedophiles stopped becoming friends. What people do want to know is what happened during those 20 years when they hung out together. 8. Katie Johnson and Tiffany Doe are lying on their sworn affidavit. Many of his supporters defend Donald Trump by saying that Katie Johnson was lying on her sworn affidavit. There's no evidence to prove this, of course. They just blindly state it and move on. There are 2 facts to consider about this baseless claim. 1, if either of her lawyers suspect that Katie is lying, they have a legal obligation to withdraw.
If during the course of your pretrial testimony in your lawyer's office, your lawyer believes and recognizes that what you are saying is in fact a lie, no matter how small it is, no matter how big it is, in all likelihood, the attorney is going to withdraw as your attorney. Now, why would he do that? It's because your lawyer has an ethical obligation not to put on proof, not to put on testimony that he knows to be a lie, that he knows to be inaccurate. That is suborning perjury, where now you know that a witness has testified falsely. You can't put that witness up at trial. You cannot have that witness testify, because if you do, now you are going ahead and knowingly putting a witness on the stand who's going to be testifying about something that is false and inaccurate. And doing that, the attorney can get in a lot of trouble. The attorney can be sanctioned. The attorney can be fined. There's a possibility the attorney could lose his license to practice law.
2. If any of her statements are found to be false, she could face jail time.
So what's the real repercussion here? The real repercussion for lying is that you could have thrown your entire case out the window because the jury no longer believes you. That's the first repercussion. What's the second? Let's say you lied about your income and you lied about your tax returns. Now you raise the possibility, I say possibility, that the judge is going to refer your matter and your lying to the district attorney in the county in which your case is pending. In that instance, now you run the risk of being investigated and prosecuted for lying under oath during the course of your trial. And that could have separate repercussions, because now you have converted what would be a civil litigation case, a civil case trying to obtain money as a form of compensation. Now you have to deal with a criminal case where the prosecutor from the state of New York is now potentially bringing charges against you for lying under oath in your civil lawsuit.
Neither Katie or Tiffany have any incentive to lie and risk going to jail. The only people who lie under oath are usually those who face a greater risk by telling the truth. 9. Donald Trump would never rape a child. He's leading the fight against child sex trafficking. Donald Trump is the new Moses. In 2023, the movie Sound of Freedom was released. It dove deep into the horrifying world of child sex trafficking and brought it into the spotlight. The star of the movie was actor Jim Caviezel, who had played Jesus in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ. Right-wing influencers pushed the movie with tremendous force. It was declared that anyone who didn't go see the movie must be a pedophile. Something that organically took place during the frenzy of this movie's release was the crowning of a new champion to end child sex trafficking. This new Moses was none other than Donald Trump.
We have to do a lot more, and we got to start with Donald Trump.
What do you mean?
Well, he's got to be in there because he's going to go after the traffickers.
Do you think he understands that?
We were with him last night.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bedminster, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
we
so he's going to be moved to do something. I didn't know that.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was in
He's
tears last night.
This is the new Moses. I mean, I'm still Jesus, but he's the new Moses. Pharaoh, let my children go free.
All right.
Our country will not rest until we have put these vile organizations out of business and rescued every last victim. And we will not stop until we have stamped out the menace of human trafficking once and for all.
Crowning Donald Trump as the new champion to end child sex trafficking is like crowning Hannibal Lecter as the new champion to end cannibalism. To understand the profound hypocrisy of this disturbing alliance, we'll take a short visit into Trump's past, beyond his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Before the turn of the century, having sex with minors was just kind of a thing that rich and powerful men did. In the music world, it was just assumed at some point that your favorite rock star had sex with a minor. It just wasn't shunned upon like it is now. Artists like the Rolling Stones and Ted Nugent wrote songs about having sex with underage girls and no one batted an eye. And when it came to rock stars raping minors, there were none more famous than Elvis Presley.
When Elvis Presley first took to the stage in the mid-1950s, conservative America had a heart attack. But his young fans, particularly his young female fans, couldn't get enough of the soon-to-be king of rock and roll. Many of those admirers are now distinguished elders, and while they continue to adore Elvis, they're also revealing some long-held secrets. It seems the king actually dated quite a few of them when they were young teenagers. While we've always known that Elvis fell in love with 14-year-old Priscilla Beaulieu, What has been hidden until now was his infatuation with young girls.
It was well known in the 80s and 90s that Donald Trump hosted parties featuring underage girls looking to hook up with powerful men. It wasn't really a big deal back then. It's just kind of what he did. Trump hosted several parties with his pedophile friend John Casablancas. Casablancas was a fashion icon who ran the elite model agency. Several women accused Casablancas of abusing them when they were minors. He famously groomed his third wife, Lyin Wermelinger, from the age of 15 and married her when she turned 17. He and Donald Trump would occasionally co-host parties with young girls. Some of the attendees have talked about their experience.
I remember this Italian girl, extremely naive, who couldn't speak any English. She was easy prey. They were all around her. We were a bunch of kids, just put there with all these older men.
And then down this large staircase, in front of all of us, there was Donald Trump, and behind him there were 3 actors. I don't want to name them because they're all still around. They came down the stairs and spread out like sharks among the girls, who had broken up into little clusters throughout the room. During the 5-day competition, it was very clear that there were opportunities to go out and party with Donald. The contestants were led to believe that if you were nice to certain people, good things will happen to you, and I think that's why girls were going out.
I remember attending a dinner with John Casablancas and Donald Trump. This time it was a private area, a big table and lots of girls. I'd say around 10 to 15 of us, all between the ages of 14 and 18. It was just us models, Trump and John. We were all underage, but we were offered drinks. I went home early, but other children stayed.
Donald Trump also hosted legendary parties at the Plaza Hotel in the 80s and 90s in New York City. These parties were full of young models looking to connect with older, powerful men. Andy Lucchese was a friend of Trump's who was a male model and would recruit young girls for the Plaza Hotel parties. Lucchese told the Daily Beast,
"It's fair to say that I was a recruiter for the parties. As for the parties themselves, there was cocaine around. Donald Trump did not do cocaine. He was in control of himself. Girls? Well, of course. But did he have sex with his female party guests? So, he's a man with a woman. How old were they? A lot of girls, 14, look 24. That's as juicy as I can get. I never asked how old they were. I just partook. I did partake in activities that would be considered controversial today."
When Donald Trump owned several beauty pageants, one of the perks was being able to walk into the dressing room of the contestants and see half-dressed or naked teens. He bragged about doing this to Howard Stern.
I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And
well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
He just came strolling right in. There was no time to put on a robe. Some girls were topless. Other girls were naked.
The time that he walked through the dressing rooms was really shocking. We were all naked.
He came backstage and was looking me over like I was just a piece of meat. No one dreams of being ogled when you're a little girl wanting to wear a crown. It was certainly the most inappropriate time to meet us all for the first time. The youngest girl was 15, and I was the eldest at 19.
Donald Trump also had this now famous exchange with a preteen girl in a shopping mall.
In the wake of questions and allegations about Donald Trump's behavior towards women, ET discovered this footage in our archive, which we provided to CBS News.
Soon. Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it? Okay.
Before we end this segment, let's check in on the new Moses to see what he's up to.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. So people are losing their minds because the man who shut down human sex trafficking across our southern border is now screening a movie, the #1 movie in the world, Sound of Freedom, at his private club. That man's name is Donald Trump, and the people who made that movie, Jim Caviezel, Tim Ballard, and Angel Studios, held a private screening at Donald Trump's Bedminster Club last night. Bedminster in New Jersey. The screening was really a beautiful sight to behold. I was watching along with many on social media. Jack Posobiec tweeting this image of Donald Trump. You can see right there, classic hair, next to Jim Caviezel, saying President Trump sits in the front row with Jim Caviezel on one side, Tim Ballard, the man that the movie is based on the other side. He hasn't moved an inch since the film began. This tweet doing numbers, 10,000 retweets. So this is what it looked like. They screened it outside. Very cool showing here. Donald Trump said, "You made this the hottest movie in the world. It's made $100 million. They are on a run today." But people are saying, of course, the liberal media tried to trash it as an anti-human trafficking film, QAnon influenced. Interesting how they actually trotted out predator protectors at Bloomberg and at The Guardian, people who have openly advocated for reducing crimes for people who commit sex crimes and commit horrible acts against children, to bash this movie. Well, seems like you should maybe have a little star by your name saying this person is a predator.
I told Tiffany that I could get pregnant because Mr. Trump didn't use a condom. Mr. Trump said that I should be proud that he would even allow me the opportunity, and if I got pregnant, I could get an abortion. Then he threw $400 onto the floor in my direction.
10. Donald Trump never went to Epstein's island. There is a popular belief that most, if not all, of Epstein's abuses occurred on his island. The truth is that Jeffrey Epstein had properties all over the world, and only a small fraction of the abuses took place on his island. All the references we have to Trump's abuses through Maria Farmer, Jane Doe, Virginia G.U. Frey, Sarah Ransom, Katie Johnson, and Tiffany Doe all took place on Epstein estates in Florida and New York. 11. If Donald Trump was guilty of having sex with minors, he would be in prison. There are no Epstein clients who have ever even been charged with a crime. There have been 3 civil cases against clients, and that's it. Virginia G.U. Frey sued Prince Andrew and settled out of court. She also sued Alan Dershowitz after giving vivid descriptions of their sessions in her deposition. After Alan Dershowitz countersued her, Virginia withdrew her lawsuit, stating that she may have made a mistake of who the man was she had sex with 6 times. An Epstein victim whose name is being withheld is currently suing multi-billionaire Lyin Black. Her description of his abuse, as well as the abuses of Epstein and Maxwell, is horrifying. 12. Donald Trump didn't rape any girls. He was the one who helped the FBI take down Epstein. This is another nonsensical defense that is based on zero evidence. Most Trump supporters who actually believe this are probably referring to the subpoena Trump was issued by victim's lawyer Brad Edwards. As we covered earlier, Trump phoned Edwards to comply with the subpoena and managed not to implicate himself. That's all he did. The person who took down Jeffrey Epstein was Miami Herald reporter Julie K. Brown. Julie was appalled when she read about the sweetheart deal Epstein had received in Florida. She channeled her outrage and wrote an investigative series on Epstein that won her a Pulitzer Prize. It also led to the resignation of Alex Acosta, the Trump administration's Secretary of Labor, who had overseen Epstein's sweetheart deal that even allowed him to work from home. Before Julie's reporting, no one had ever heard of Jeffrey Epstein except his victims and his clients. 13. Katie Johnson doesn't exist. The most outrageous defense of Donald Trump is that Katie Johnson never existed. The fact that Katie Johnson filed a sworn affidavit is seen in photos with her lawyer Lisa Bloom, had a lengthy interview with the Daily Mail, has a witness who swore under oath to the abuses Katie has described, and even made her own YouTube video talking about her abuses, is irrelevant to these people. And finally, 14. Donald Trump is a white hat operative who helped to take down Jeffrey Epstein.
Now we are calling for a great reawakening of nations. I intend to address some of the very serious threats before us today, but also the enormous potential waiting to be unleashed. We live in a time of extraordinary opportunity.
A white hat hacker, also known as an ethical hacker, is a cybersecurity professional who uses their skills to identify vulnerabilities in networks. There is a group of people who I'll call QAnon leaning that believe Donald Trump was a white hat operative who pretended to be a pedophile in order to hack into Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle to help take him down. I wish I was kidding. You can see some of the many tweets referring to this undercover operation. Donald Trump will occasionally wear a white MAGA hat at his rallies. He knows that wearing the white hat will send many of his followers into a tiz. Whenever Trump wears a white MAGA hat, deeply disturbed people post about how he's sending them a secret message. Meanwhile, Trump, always recognizing the potential of a good grift, is now selling white MAGA hats from his online store.